Good day to you and welcome to Aristocards, the show that features only the finest in tabletop card gaming. Before beginning today's deck tech video, I would like to extend my gratitude to the nearly 300 commoners that voted on a recent poll posted on my community section. You overwhelmingly voted that you wanted more deck techs. Well, as a man of the people, I am more than happy to oblige. Maelstrom Wanderer. For 5 blue, red, green, it is a 7/5 legendary creature elemental. Creatures you control have haste. Cascade. Then Cascade again. Now you might be saying to yourself, why Baron, we've seen Maelstrom Wanderer deck tech videos before, he's been around in the format for years, and yes, you likely have seen Maelstrom Wanderer videos before, and this will be somewhat similar, but I have a different take on it that I believe you might find refreshing. To do so, we first must review the Cascade mechanic. Cascade says that when you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled cards on the bottom in a random order, then do it again. Now, of course, the reaction to this is that we want to fill our deck with cards that cost 7 or less. Only cards that cost 7 or less, because we want to be able to use that Cascade mechanic to play them. But what if we want to play cards with a CMC cost of 8 or greater, specifically creatures, as he grants all creatures haste? This leaves some of the green staple creatures such as Craterhoof Behemoth or Terastodon rather out in the cold, as they cannot benefit from that Cascade mechanic. So I said to myself, I want to achieve this goal. I would like to use some of these larger creatures in a Maelstrom Wanderer deck. There are 2 creatures specifically that will serve as the mechanical archetype for the deck. The first is Ilhog the Raise Boar. For 3 red, it is a 6/6 legendary creature boar god. It has trample. Whenever Ilhog the Raise Boar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. When he dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. I believe you can already see where I'm going with this. The Maelstrom Wanderer can cascade into Ilhog, and then, when he attacks, because he's granted haste by the Maelstrom Wanderer, you can put one of those big cards, such as Craterhoof Behemoth, or Terastodon, or any other large creature that you want onto the battlefield. But the Maelstrom Wanderer cascades twice, therefore we want to stack our deck with another creature. God Eternal Ronus. For 3 green, it is a 5/5 legendary creature zombie god. It has Death Touch. When God Eternal Ronus enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain vigilance until end of turn. When God Eternal Ronus dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. So by stacking our deck where the first Cascade will hit Ilhog and the second Cascade will hit Ronus, he will come into play, double the power of Ilhog and the Maelstrom Wanderer, and give them each vigilance. Let's examine a few other creatures with a CMC of 8 or greater that would be beneficial with Ilhog's ability. Avatar of Slaughter is ideal, as it will give all of your creatures double strike, and Ilhog's ability will return him to your hand at the end of the turn, therefore your opponents won't get the benefit of double strike on their turn. Of course, if they get to their turn. Worldspine Worm is a 15/15 with trample. Just a huge creature that does a ton of damage. Or go straight for the throat with everyone's favorite Blightsteel Colossus. As an 11/11 with trample and infect and indestructible, it's certainly difficult to deal with, and going unblocked, it could mean lights out for one of your opponents immediately. Perhaps you need some control over the board instead of brute power. Well, we talked about Terastodon, of course, but there's also the option of the Woodfall Primus. Apex Altosaurus is a 10/10 with a built-in fight mechanic upon entering the battlefield, and of course a 10/10 should be able to stomp just about any creature your opponents have. And Void Winnower will prevent your opponents from casting spells with converted mana costs that are even, and they cannot block with creatures that have an even converted mana cost. Or if you just want to be that guy, then play Jin Gytaxis. There's hardly a mechanic that is more oppressive than reducing your opponent's hand sizes to 0. The point here is that you can use Ilhog's ability on any creatures you wish. You can customize this deck to your own liking. So now we know what the end game is, how we are trying to win the game. Now we shall build the rest of our deck in order to support that strategy. From turn 1, we are going to ramp like the Dickens, using cards such as Birds of Paradise, Elvish Mystic, and Llanowar Elves. With Maelstrom Wanderer having the extremely high casting cost of 8, we simply cannot afford to wait around until turn 8. Turn 2 and on, we're going to be looking to play many of our ramp cards such as Cultivate, Harrow, and Kodama's Reach. Just about any of the green land ramp cards. Anything that helps us to get to being able to produce 8 mana that much more quickly is significant. Now we need to deal with the problem of getting Ilhog and Ronus out of the middle of our library and either into our hand or, more importantly, on top of our deck. Cards such as Signal the Clans, Time of Need, and Summoner's Pact will allow for us to search for just those cards. And if there was ever a deck in need of Fauna Shaman, this would certainly be it. Now, I was also very pleased to see that this card has dipped under about the $5 range due to the reprint, so pick one up now if you haven't already. But of course, we don't want Ilhog or Ronus in our hand, we want them on top of our library before we cast the Maelstrom Wanderer. Dream Cache, Brainstorm, and Riverwise Augur will each have the effect of drawing 3 cards, and then we can select 2 cards from our hand and put them on top of our library in our choosing of order. Scroll Rack, of course, is quite ideal for this deck as well, but fetches quite a hefty penny these days. I believe it's over $70 at this point. If you have it, of course, you want to use it, but I don't believe it is absolutely necessary. Our other option is to use cards that will take a creature from our library and put it directly on top of it, such as the now ubiquitous Worldly Tutor. Here's a card that I believe has been overlooked in most green decks. Muanvali Beast Tracker. For 1 green, it is a 2/1 creature human scout. When Muanvali Beast Tracker enters the battlefield, search your library for a creature with Death Touch, Hexproof, Reach, or Trample, reveal it, shuffle your library, and put that card on top of it. And, well, would you look at that, Ronus has Death Touch, and Ilhog has Trample. Either one can be targets. Brutalizer Exarch is a bit more expensive in the CMC cost, but we can search for any creature and put it on top of our library. One of my primary factors in my fondness for this deck is its resilience to board wipes. If your opponents attempt to destroy or exile Ronus or Ilhog, you can simply put them back into your deck 3rd from the top. Then next turn, if you have the mana, play Maelstrom Wanderer from the command zone, and it is likely you're going to hit both of those cards yet again. Oh, and don't forget to add Release to the Wind in this deck. Paying 3 to get double Cascade again from Maelstrom Wanderer is it's just great. What are your thoughts on this deck tech, commoners? Which cards would you include in the deck, especially creatures that have a converted mana cost of 8 or greater? Be sure to like and subscribe and view many of my entertaining and informative videos here on Aristocards. Until next time, cheers!